NFL free agency is about to begin, folks. So we're about to break down a mock draft from Dane Brugler. Everything's going to change in the draft as free agency gets going. So make sure you don't miss out. Hit that sub button right now. We're breaking down the latest Dane Brugler mock draft with a bunch of trades. Dane was wheeling and dealing on this one. So make sure you pay attention for the movement that happens. Not one, not two, not three, but like 7 times in this mock draft. No movement at number 1. Caleb Williams goes to the Chicago Bears. Dane saying, what he told us on our interview, which was great if you didn't get a chance to check it out, that the expectation is Williams ends up being a Bear. The Commanders at number 2, Drake Maye. They have not made up their mind, and they won't. They'll take their time, even if the Bears go, we're going to take Caleb Williams between Drake Maye, Jayden Daniels, etc. But I think there's a good chance that in the end, the path that these teams pursue, the Commanders are going to go quarterback. It's a matter of what quarterback it is. I predict it'll end up being Drake Maye as well. We'll see how things change, though. The Patriots at 3 trade the pick. The Falcons, which this one might look changeable once free agency gets going, give up their first, their second, and their first next year to jump up to number 3 and take Jayden Daniels out of LSU. I do think there is a very real chance 1, 2, 3 is quarterback in this year's class. It's a matter of who's picking 3 and what's the order of those quarterbacks. Arizona, Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State. The Cardinals, I think, are going to leak that they're going to have interest in a trade down. If there's a quarterback somebody wants, they'd have interest in getting that big assets. Otherwise, they will happily stand pat and take the best receiver, and I'd argue the best quarterback best player, in this year's class. The Bears jump up at number 5. They get the 5th overall pick. The Chargers trade down for a 3rd and a future 4. And the Bears get Odunze out of Washington. I might have gone Malik Nabers here, but that's kind of flavor of ice cream to a certain extent. Are you a vanilla guy, or are you a chocolate chip guy, or maybe you're a cookie dough guy? It's all good ice cream. Which dynamic receiver do you want? I think the Bears being aggressive and pairing Caleb Williams with Rome and DJ Moore, really intriguing for an organization that kind of needs to win sooner rather than later. The Giants then, with no quarterbacks, simply take Malik Nabers. I got Nabers as receiver 2, and that's not a side against Rome Odunze at all. Both those guys are dynamic studs. Tennessee at 7 trades down as well. Minnesota jumps up to the 7th overall pick in exchange for a 4 and a future 2nd-round pick to take J.J. McCarthy, with the theory being they bring back Cousins on a short-term deal and allow McCarthy to learn and grow behind Cousins. I do think McCarthy is going to go top 15. I think he'll be the 4th quarterback off the board. I don't buy this McCarthy going before Jayden Daniels stuff. So we just keep changing things of Daniels before May. Actually, JJ before Daniels. I don't really buy that's how things are going to end up going. Weird stuff happens. I do think he goes off the board in the top 15, though. Will he go top 10? Y for yes, N for no. It's the pinned comment on today's video. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Now, before we get to the Patriots pick at number 8, kind of buried in the article itself was the idea that the Patriots trade their 3rd rounder for Justin Fields. So that is why the Patriots trade away from 3. They don't go quarterback. And instead, in what would be a very Elliott Wolf move, trade down, get assets, and take the offensive lineman. That is Joe Alt. Now, Alt did meet with New England at the Combine. By the way, he told us that. Alt's a plug-and-play option on the left side. I don't know if trading down, not going QB is the best path for them, but I think Alt's a top 5 player in this year's class. The Chargers at number 9, after their own trade down, they get the right tackle option, Talise Fuaga. I think there is a chance he goes off the board before Fashanu. I realized we've been pronouncing his name wrong the whole time when he said it correctly himself at his combine. Fashanu goes number 10 to the Jets. I think Fashanu is a better player than Fuaga. No slight against Fuaga, by the way. But I think right tackle for LA and left tackle for New York actually makes a ton of sense. Tennessee then makes it 4 straight offensive linemen off the board. It's J.C. Latham out of Alabama. He moved pretty well in the positional drills. If I were Tennessee, though, I wouldn't love this because you trade away from the top 2, top 3 offensive linemen and only get a 4 and a future 2. It's not a bad haul, but I think you might have a little bit of buyer's regret if they really do go tackle before you. Brock Bowers off the board here to Denver at number 12. No other quarterbacks in round 1. Maybe they could look to trade back into the round 1 or go up in round 2 for Bo Nix. But I think figuring out where Bowers goes is going to be a little bit tricky. I think he'd be a fun fit in Denver. We know Sean Payton has been able to utilize tight ends, dynamic ones, in the past. NFL jerseys are on sale, folks, for $100. That's right, official Nike NFL jerseys just for $100 at chatsports.com/jersey deal. By the way, Fanatics does offer jersey assurance in case, I don't know, somebody like Justin Fields ends up getting moved on from. They'll have you covered. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's chatsports.com/jersey deal. Tons of players, all the teams available for under $100. Finally, a defensive player off the board, Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. He is an absolute dog. I wouldn't be shocked if he was the first corner taken. If I had to shoot my shot, though, I think Dallas Turner ends up being the first defensive player taken in this year's class. He's off the board here from Dane to the Saints at 14. Their issues are trenches. They need to get more talent there. Turner makes sense. We've mocked Brian Thomas to the Colts before with the mindset of, hey, he's gonna be a great athlete, and he was. 4.33 at a shade under 6'3 and 209. Unbelievable size. If you pair him in Indy with Anthony Richardson, that's so much fun. Seattle at 16 trades down. The Steelers, first-round pick, number 16 overall, plus a fifth-rounder, which is just balancing the old trade value chart. Seattle moves down 4 spots and pick up a third-rounder in the process. Remember, they're light on draft picks from the Leonard Williams trade, which was a mistake. The Steelers take Amarius Mims, which would be funny of them moving up a couple spots to take the Georgia offensive tackle. Back-to-back years, they would have done it. But you then kick Broderick Jones left side or vice versa and put Mims on the right side, and that's really good spots. It's a really good spot to be in for Pittsburgh. Love that fit. Another trade here. Philadelphia jumps up for a third and a future fourth. Do make note, a much later third than the one the Steelers gave up to get a similar range jump right there. A little bit higher jump, too, for Philadelphia. But 17 overall, they take a corner. Terrion Arnold, who I think is a good fit for what the Eagles want to do on defense with Vic Fangio. Can argue he's the best corner in this year's class, so wouldn't have any complaints about that one. Spoiler alert, we are not yet done with the Dane trades on this one. So how many trades happen in round 1 this year? Get your predictions in for me in the comment section right now. Unfortunately for Cincinnati, 5 tackles already off the board. Instead, they'll go with the top defensive tackle in this mock draft, Byron Murphy out of Texas, who I think would be a nice fit for Cincinnati. The Rams stand pat at 19, simply take Jared Verse out of Florida State. Very good combine testing for him. I think this kind of late teens, worst case early 20s, perfect spot for him. Seattle at 20, Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon. John Schneider, 40% of his first-round picks have been offensive linemen. Now, it hasn't been center necessarily, but he's got, I think, some center guard versatility, and O-line is an area of focus for Seattle. Miami at 21, Troy Fontenot. Again, one of these linemen have to slide at least a little bit. There's so many good ones. Fontenot, I think, absolutely could stay at tackle in the NFL. I think he has the length and the ability. But in this scenario, plug him in there at left guard, protect Tua or whoever your long-term quarterback ends up being, and allow the Dolphins to kind of rebuild that offensive line. If you're going to be a quick strike passing game, having a good guard makes a ton of sense for you. And if you want to kick him back out to tackle when Teron Armstead retires, that works as well. Jags trade down and still get Nate Wiggins. The 173 weight is going to be a turnoff for some teams, but also 4'2", 840. So Jags need quarterback help. Makes sense to me. Houston at 23 takes Liatu Latu. The medicals are uncertain. He will not pass for all teams. That's not how it's going to operate. There's a lot of risk involved there with the not being cleared medically by Washington, cleared by UCLA. Talent-wise, I think he's one, if not the best defensive players in this year's class. The risk at 23, I think, makes it worthwhile. Who do you think will end up being the first defensive player drafted? Sound off for me in the comments section right now. Another one. This time, Buffalo jumps up 4 spots, giving up a 3rd-round pick, getting a projected comp pick in the 6th round back as well, to take A.D. Mitchell out of Buffalo. Now, Dane says he's not sold on Mitchell being a culture fit. There are some times where Mitchell seems to check out a little bit, but the upside is incredibly dynamic. A large human who runs fast normally ends up going pretty early. Cooper DeJean just feels like a Packer. We know the Packers have interest in him, by the way, from our combine conversations. Wouldn't stun me at all there. Graham Barton out of Duke to Tampa Bay here. I don't know if they're going to go interior O-line early again, but I think Barton is a late round 1, early round 2 pick. Darius Robinson out of Missouri. I don't know if he can stay at edge, but I think at minimum he can be a really good kind of, flex piece inside and outside, and that fits what Jonathan Gannon, I think, is looking for in Arizona. So the Cowboys trade down and still find their new left tackle of the future, Tyler Guyton. I know he played right tackle for the most part at Oklahoma. I think he can go over and play left side. Dane agrees on that front. But Guyton at 28 to Dallas. Chop Robinson out of Penn State, number 29 overall. Lions to Lions, right? Robinson's burst is so, that get off is so rare, I kind of feel like someone's going to gamble on him in round 1. Another trade. That's the last one, I promise. The Panthers jump up 3 spots in exchange for a 5th-round pick to take Georgia's Ladd McConkey. And I do think McConkey is a really good fit for what the Panthers need. They need someone who can run routes, get open, and offer some speed. McConkey does all of those things in a very impressive way. He is not, if you comp him to like Wes Welker, you're telling on yourself. That's not how he plays. He's more dynamic. Arizona takes Jordan Morgan. The arm length will make him a guard for some teams. It's sub 33 inches. That's unideal, but maybe you try him on the right side, given your issues over there for San Francisco. And the Chiefs get Xavier Worthy. I do think Worthy ends up going in round 1. We've put him in some round 1 mock drafts previously. Teams are still going to be scared by the fact that he's 165 pounds, but Al Davis is going to rise from the grave and make the Raiders take him at 13th overall or something. The speed and some of the run after catch stuff, I think, makes him more than John Ross. I think he's more like stretched out Marquise Brown. He's just a taller version of him. And he went in round 1. So grade the mock draft here from Dane Brugler. A, B, C, D, or F. Go ahead and sound off in the comments section. Before we go, the picks for teams that did not have a first rounder from Dane. I appreciate it. I do this too. That's how you should do it. Show some love to the Ravens and Browns, right? Kingsley Suamatia out of BYU. This is, left tackle or right tackle piece for the Ravens. He can do both. And Ricky Pearsall, out of Florida. No first-round pick for the Browns. but adding a athletic receiver makes a ton of sense for them.